Okay, so here's the thing. I want to, I don't know, just kind of making sure that I keep myself on track with this one. And I'm going to wait until I hear the audio coming. Okay, now, I don't want to hear my audio, but guess what? I can see my audio up there. Guess what? It happens. Cool. All right, so I have the second half of the Gundam Battle Assault episode to work on, and I don't know, let's just kind of listen to it and as I go through it, and we'll have things going. We will pick up right where I come into commercial break, which is really just um, like me going and saying I'm going to drop promos. So I've already popped those in. And let's go. Now that I've popped the link somewhere. What would probably help though is if I remember to get over to the screen that shows my editing program, which has now, of course, decided to crash. Yay! Well, let's get this pulled back up then. Don't you love it when things crash? Oh, let's make sure everything's going right. Okay. Yes, watching people fix their OBS settings is the most fun thing ever. And Kaylee is sending me screenshots of her playing cassette tapes, which is its own kind of super fun thing. I swear, is this thing gonna crash again? Well, if this thing crashes again, I'm just gonna quit stream. I don't know. I might scream too, though. Never know. The fact that you can see a mouse here is a good sign. Alright. So, again, we will pick things up here with me saying we're going to go to promos. As I also make it so we don't hear my wife send me messages. We're going to ponder over that as I drop some promos for a few other shows.
Okay. For all the latest in Transformers news, listen to the Transmissions Podcast Network. Every Wednesday we have a flagship Transmission show about all the Transformer toy news that you have ever asked for. Every Friday we have Alt Mode, which talks about all the comics, movies, and TV shows and any other media the Transformers are appearing in. And every other Monday we have a new episode of Empire of Russ, our live play RPG podcast with an original Transformer story. Check us out at transmissionspodcast.com.
Video games are a unique medium.
They can tell stories,
Immerse us in strange, fantastic worlds.
blur the very boundaries of our reality.
But at the end of the day, video games are fun, whatever fun is to you.
I'm Jeff Moonen,
And I am Matt A.K. Stormageddon.
and on Fun and Games, we talk about the history, trends, and community of video games.
It's a celebration of all the games we play and all the fun we find within them.
And there's so many more games out there, so we hope you'll share in that conversation with us.
Fun and Games podcast with Matt and Jeff. Find us on CircuitPOV.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
And happy gaming.
Those are some great shows to check out. First, let's finish up with this one. So, Carrington, I did not think of anything that we love as much as Japan loves anything. Did you?
No, I didn't. Unless guns count, but we're very split on that also. So I can't even say guns anymore.
Yeah.
But other than that, nothing. Dude, there's nothing.
Speaking of guns, Gundam Battle Assault. It not only has the word gun in it, sometimes the robots have guns.
This is true.
Gundam Battle Assault was released in November of 2000 over in Japan.
I use a mouse with
And
side buttons.
Little
It is a Razer Naga V2 Pro. I like having the six side buttons on there. I've definitely got the like 20 some odd button connection somewhere on my desk, but I don't really like using that one. Or at least I haven't gotten around to using that one yet. And most of my editing really is just cut like I just did there, stop and play.
bit later here in North America, because obviously they're, had to see that North America actually liked it before they took the time to localize the game. And localizing the game is what they did, because they took an older Gundam fighting game, kind of morphed it into being Battle Assault for us, which I think was a wonderful move, because then nobody asked why we didn't get the original game. Created by Natsume and Bandai. Natsume has done us, which I think was a wonderful move. They have definitely done some things that you've heard of us, which I think was a wonderful move, because then nobody asked why we didn't get the original game. Created by Natsume and Bandai. Natsume has done nothing that we have looked at on the show, but us, which I think was a wonderful move, because then nobody asked why we didn't get the original game. Created by Natsume and Bandai. Natsume has done nothing that we have looked at on the show, but us, which I think was a wonderful move, because then nobody asked why we didn't get the original game.
And we have a little bit of noisy stuff there that I'll take out just in case. And I usually will drag both of these over at the same time, but I don't feel like doing that right now. So, Jake Carrington's kind of knock it past a little bit what I'd be starting, since he isn't saying anything on that little portion of audio anyway. And then zoom this thing back out because that is way too close.
Then nobody asked why we didn't get the original game. Created by Natsume and Bandai. Natsume has done nothing that we have looked at on the show, but they have definitely done some things that you've heard of. Harvest Moon, anyone? Yeah! Or at least the newer ones. Because I have the official Natsume site up right now.
One of my favorite things is getting to come in here and take audio where, I talked over Carrington like that, but I don't have to look like a rude asshole, because I can take me and move it to where I didn't interrupt him. Because interrupting people is rude.
Moon, anyone? Yes! Or at least the newer ones. Because I have the official Natsume site up right now, and they don't go older than PS3 and PSP. But I know that they're older than that, and I just don't feel like looking up into their list.
I would say Natsume is an old company. Like, I'm pretty...
PSP. But I know that they're older than that, and I just don't feel like looking up into their list.
I would say Natsume is an old company. Like, I'm pretty sure they've been around since, like, the 90s or 80s.
I don't know if we can hear those little spots where you can see that a little bit on the waveform, like there, and what I took out of Carrington's, and what I took out over here on mine. But I like to get rid of those anyway if I'm already stopping, just in case.
Natsume is an old company. Like, I'm pretty sure they've been around since, like, the 90s or 80s. Like they've been around for a hot minute, you know, give or take.
Actually, I say all that, and I am gonna look on a different place. Because, yeah, like, Natsume knows what they're doing. They did a lot of converting things to different stuff and things like that. But they also did a lot of games that we know about over here. You had Power Blade on the NES, Shadow of the Ninja over here. You had Power Blade on the NES, Shadow of the Ninja.
If I may, real quick, like Natsume is like the THQ for Japan, where they just take a bunch of licenses, try and see what works, and go from there.
That makes a lot of sense.
Here's an instance too where I don't want to mess this up that much audio. Here's an instance where it almost sounds better if Carrington interrupts me because I did not do a good job of ending my thoughts in a place that is a neutral thought ender. So kind of overlap those a little bit, so I can drop it down. Which then means I'm going to need to clean up some audio here. Get rid of over this way, which, oddly enough, about lines this up. And then I can take these here. And then, just because I'm a crazy person, I'll drag my audio back there so I don't have things overlapping. Let's see how that interruption from Carrington sounds, though.
Power Blade on the NES, Shadow of the Ninja.
If I may, real quick, like Natsume is like the THQ for Japan, where they just take a bunch of licenses, try and see what works, and go from there.
That makes a lot of sense, and I'm glad that you brought it up like that, because I scroll a little bit more.
Again, get rid of that stuff that you're probably not going to hear.
And there's Power Rangers, and WWF, and Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah, they've done a lot. Like, they have done, seriously, they've done a lot of stuff over the years. And that's just me going from memory. Like, I didn't know about Buffy, but I do remember Power Rangers.
Buffy might be involved in some weird...
Definitely heard that little mic bump there.
I didn't know about Buffy, but I do remember Power Rangers.
Buffy might be involved in some weird, like, co-working on things, because I didn't take the time to actually look at what the Wikipedia list said. Bandai, on the other hand, we have looked at a bunch of games that they have worked on here on the show. Every single Dragon Ball and Digimon game that we have looked at, Dick Tracy, another Gundam game that we've looked at, 007, 0079, Rise from the Ashes, Ball and Digimon game that we have looked at, Dick Tracy, another Gundam game that we've looked at, 007, 0079, Rise from the Ashes, another Gundam game that we've looked at, 007, 0079, Rise from the Ashes, another Gundam game that we've looked at, 007, 0079, Rise from the Ashes, another Gundam game that we've looked at, 007, 0079, Rise from the Ashes, another Gundam game that we've looked at, 0079, Rise from the Ashes, another Gundam game that we've looked at, 0079, Rise from the Another Gundam game that we've looked at, 0079, Rise from the Ashes.
Oh, look, now I don't sound like an idiot for saying 007. Yay!
Gundam game that we've looked at, 0079, Rise from the Ashes. Muscle, The Rocketeer, another Gundam game that we've looked at, 0079, Rise from the Ashes. Muscle, The Rocketeer. So there are plenty of games that Bandai has done. They know what they're doing. Or at least they put things out.
Mm-hmm.
The story of Battle Assault, though, it's really interesting to say. Like, I'm not sure if there is one.
That's a really interesting spot. Not really in what is being said, but in how it's being said. Normally, I would take out that kind of gap. But the... Excuse me. Normally, I would take out that kind of gap. But the fact that I'm going into saying the 00789... No, I'm doing it again now. I'm saying the wrong game name. The fact that I'm saying that Gundam Battle Assault doesn't really have a story, I think that's the... I think that the gap of word in there, the empty space in the audio, kind of leans into this is what's going on with the game itself. And the boringness of the story goes along with how do I say that the story mode for this game sucks.
Story of Battle Assault, though, it's really interesting to say. Like, I'm not sure if there is one, even on the scale of fighting games having a story.
It's super basic, which is why I was disappointed in it personally. Now, I did not play this when it first came out because I did not have a PlayStation to play it on. So this is me as a 33-year-old man playing it in modern age. So this is, I don't. So if people like this game, I do not want to crap all over it and be like, "Oh, it's so bad, so terrible." This is just me now getting into it because I did not have the console that it was released on. But yeah, the story to me it was like your average cash buy-in fighting game storyline. You have to me it was like your average cash buy.
I know I said I like the gap in mine. I don't. I'm not a huge fan of the gap in Carrington's trying to get into explaining the sparseness of the storyline. So let's squish that together and see if it does any better.
To me, it was like your average cash buy-in fighting game storyline. You have the good guy, who in this case is Hiro Yui, who's from Gundam Wing, and he's just fighting robots until he gets to the final boss, and then that's it.
We could actually go through the story mode script and kind of analyze it a little bit, but there is no need to, because every single fight is, oh, hi, there's another person. Why are you fighting me? Because one of three reasons. Okay, well, I beat you. Oh, well, there's somebody else who's going to try to stop you. Oh, hey, there's a person. And it just keeps cycling like that. Like that. I mean, that is seriously about it. And even on the scale of, like, Street Fighter, oh, you're just fighting random people to get into a tournament, or Mortal Kombat, like, where those are super basic. But for some reason it works with them.
Yep.
Over here with Gundam, I feel like it might just be suffering from the fact that even if we didn't know when we played this when we were little what the whole giant Gundam story is, we knew that there was a whole giant Gundam story.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and it's almost disappointing because it's supposed to be.
Same thing here. I want to bring this back out. Actually, this is where to start.
Almost disappointing because it's supposed to be set in the Gundam Wing universe again, which is the one I was introduced to, the one I. Mm-hmm. Yes, and it's almost disappointing because it's supposed to be set in the Gundam Wing universe again, which is the one I was introduced to, the one I essentially kind of grew up with in a way. I've watched that series more than once, And I was like, this is super basic. I would think they would put something into it that makes it stands out a bit more. But no, it's just, as far as story is concerned, it's super generic, super basic, as we've already said, and it's just, I was just disappointed in that aspect.
And the fact that it's supposed to be...
I used to be a person who would use the remove silence function on podcast players. I don't do that anymore, but I still kind of edit like that. And a lot of times I'll catch myself and try to not make everything so much of a tight cut.
Just disappointed in that aspect.
And the fact that it's supposed to be set in the Gundam Wing universe is kind of a weird thing as well, because you don't just have Gundam Wing characters in this. You have characters from a variety of the Gundam series in this. You have characters from a variety.
That was an oddly good cut. Normally I have to move around a little bit. I think that is it.
In this, you have characters from a variety of the Gundam series in this game.
Which would be cool if it was like, hey, I unlocked the character
Series in this game.
Get rid of that little box just because we're taking things out anyway. And here.
Of the Gundam series.
Which would be cool if it was like, hey, I unlocked the character for versus mode. You know what I mean? Like, have like a little Easter egg. Gotta do this. You know, unlock somebody from the previous Gundam stuff, which I think would have been a cool feature, because that's not unique to fighting games or just gaming in general, you know? They still try to work some competing games or just gaming in general, you know?
I hit play button before I scratched. Come on.
To fighting games or just gaming in general, you know? They still try to work some people in, and it didn't make sense. Some people in, and it didn't make sense. And I was very confused.
And maybe it's just us looking at it now with, like, just have a stupid hand-wavy reason why these universes are coming together, and I'm fine. I don't care if it's a dumb reason, I just want there to be a reason.
Yes. You know, this is a very recent example, and you can crucify me if you want to, but there is a somewhat explanation in the Fortnite universe why Darth Vader would be shooting Master Chief with a gun.
Because Darth Vader's cool.
Alright, cool. I can work with that. There's a reason.
Yeah, I mean, the reason is just basically like there's basically an overlord that tries to pull people from different universes, and that's why we can have different franchises in this game. It works, you know. I mean, I'm not super in depth or anything, but it works. Whereas this is just like, yeah, hey, here you go. There's characters.
Does that overlord happen to be a giant glove?
No, but that's why it also works in Super Smash Brothers, because they're all toys and they come to life.
Nobody complains about Super Smash Brothers stuff. The only complaint people get about Super Smash Brothers characters is that they want.
No, but that's why it also works in Super Smash Brothers, because they're all toys and they come to life.
Nobody complains about Super Smash Brothers stuff. The only complaint people get about Super Smash Brothers characters is that they want.
In case you couldn't tell, I like Super Smash Brothers.
Super Smash Brothers, because they're all toys and they come to life and makes them fight each other.
See? Nobody complains about Super Smash Brothers stuff. The only complaint people get about Super Smash Brothers characters is that they want their favorite character in there who isn't in there yet. Like,
That
it's
is
a
very true.
stupid reason.
But it works for what it is. You know, I don't complain about it. Like, I don't question why.
Why did I got there? Oh, acceptance consulting. I think this works better with Carrington saying that and then rolling into his own points.
Stupid reason.
That is very true. But it works for what it is. You know, I don't complain about it. Like, I don't question why going from the 64 version to the Switch version, why Master Hand is still around, even though you defeat him every single time, but yet it still works in a way. Whereas this, it's not. It doesn't even feel like an Easter egg, you know, where you have characters from different Gundam series. It doesn't even feel like an Easter egg. It almost feels forced to try and get as many people to buy it and like it as much as possible. Try and get as many people to buy it and like it as much as possible.
The bad part, the really bad part about that with this game is that they took
That right there is why we don't get a lot of outtakes at the end anymore, because most of them would be that. And specifically, it would be me flipping over words. And I don't know, I just don't think y'all want to hear me flipping over words all the time at the end. If you do, certainly tell me, whether it's in the chat here, or on Twitter, or Blue Sky, or you can comment on the website. However, if you actually know who I am, just text me and tell me that you want to hear me flip over words, because I do that basically every episode.
Many people to buy it and like it as much as possible.
The really bad part about that with this game is that they took Gundam Battle Master that had already existed in Japan, reworked the story, reworked who was in it. Like, they didn't create a game from scratch, but they kind of almost created a game from scratch making this. So it's not like they had to just kind of gloss over things that Japan would know about that we wouldn't.
Which is also another issue I have, because when this game came out, only Gundam Wing would have been out. The OG Gundam would not have been released yet, because Gundam Wing was the first Gundam we got in America.
On the other hand, big fighting robots, so I'm cool with that. Like, as a game concept, that just seems cool.
I trust my listeners a lot. I definitely trust them to understand that what Carrington meant there was that here in North America, we didn't really have that original Gundam. We only had Gundam Wing. It's almost past my bedtime. I am doing this anyway because I want to get it done. I don't want to do it tomorrow.
As a game concept, that just seems cool.
Yeah. It's just weird from a I guess, marketing standpoint to like why you would include characters which have not yet been introduced to Americans yet, but yet you're localizing it for us.
Japan does weird things. What can I say?
That is true. I mean, as a Japanese person, I can also agree with that, but so do Americans.
That is also true. Gameplay-wise, I mean, the game is not Street Fighter. Like, you're slower.
So agree with that, but so do Americans.
That is also true. Gameplay-wise, the thing is, I really like that gap there. Just like as a gap for thought separation. I'm not dragging us all the way in, but I am going to make it a little closer. Partly because then I can move that instead of moving where my mouse cursor is. Because this really needs to get tightened up right here. And here's seems like a good spot. Let's see what we've got. Let's also just kind of turn off my mic. It's fun. Wait. How do I have this set up in here? Alright, I don't have the live input monitoring. Well, I just learned that I sound like crap on here. Oh well, that is a thing to fix later. Because right now, honestly, half the reason for streaming it is just to have this kind of timer on me and force me to sound more gooder. Wise, I mean, the game is not Street Fighter. Like, you're slower, you shoot things, you run out of ammunition because you're not having magical powers. And I think gameplay-wise, it works really well. Because you're in a giant robot, you're going to be slower, you're going to run out of ammo, you're going to overheat. And I really appreciate the fact that you're not going through rounds like you are in a normal... You're not going... Oh, what did I say? You're not going through rounds like you are in a normal 1v1 fighter. You're fighting, and I really appreciate the fact that you're not going through rounds like you are in a normal... Alright, so... Let's get rid of all of that since I go into it better. Drag this way real big just so I can grab these and get rid of them. That's just blank space in the middle anyway. And that's where I want to start it. Alright. And I really appreciate the fact that you're not going through rounds like you are in a normal 1v1 fighter. You're fighting until your thing is destroyed. And, you know, essentially it's the same thing. But it just works. Like, they took the time to make that work. And I can appreciate that.
A lot of it did feel weird to play a fighting game where the characters move slower than I'm used to, but I'm not into let's say Street Fighter where it's much faster. You know what I mean? Like I can't move that. I can't think on that level because I don't. It's just not me. So on one hand, I appreciate it, but on the other hand, it was just also a huge adjustment as a game.
I like the faster fighting games. I just suck at them, but I like them.
Same.
Get rid of me talking over Carrington, cause the guest usually wins, cause I'm on the show all the time.
As a game.
I like the faster fighting games. I just suck at them, but I like them.
Same.
And seeing this,
but
this was just so cool because the way it's presented,
same.
and seeing.
False start on the thoughts. If only I was recording my editing, then we could get outtakes of all my stupid editing songs.
Same.
This was just so cool because the way it's presented, you could still see what's going on with your character a little bit because they have that headshot down in the corner. You can see everything overheating. They themed everything out to where it makes sense for what is happening with your giant Gundam suits, or, you know, depending on who you're fighting against, not so giant Gundam suit because the other one is super huge.
Mm-hmm.
It's just beautiful.
I was gonna say though, like you saying it's beautiful, like the animation and art for a PlayStation 1 game, fantastic. It looks gorgeous. The animation is absolutely amazing. Like I cannot believe like how good it looks. And just like that made my heart so happy. Like I don't want to crap on the game like endlessly because there are things that it did super well, like next level well, and the animation is top notch for this game. The graphics are top notch for this game.
I'm gonna guess that the story mode just overall is one of the things that you didn't like.
Yeah, it really disappointed in that. It was just like and I just was it was just disappointing because it's Gundam is one of, I'm not gonna say it is the it really disappointed in that. It was just like and I just was it was just disappointing because it's Gundam is
the things that you didn't like.
Yeah, it really disappointed.
Normally, I would not use this kind of thing as an outtake. But I know that Carrington won't care. And I know that he will also understand that I mean, that was kind of an awkward noise he made. It is not good for the middle of the episode. Oh, look, I have some outtakes that I already put in here. I don't remember what they were. We will see.
Story mode just overall is one of the things that you didn't like.
It was just disappointing because it's Gundam is one of, I'm not gonna say it is the, because I don't even think it's the best anime out there, but it is definitely up there as one of the best anime, or just one of the best franchises out there in general. And so it felt, it just the story is everything when it comes to Gundam. You know what I mean? And so to see it get the short end of the stick, I was like,
that was a really weird place to cut it, to go back that far, but it's where I was, and it's essentially what I was going to be doing anyway.
so it felt it just the story is everything when it comes to Gundam. You know what I mean? And so to see it get the short end of the stick, I was like, "What is this? What is this? Doesn't it looks like Gundam? It plays like Gundam, but at the same time, at its core, in a way, it doesn't feel like Gundam. If that makes sense."
Definitely makes sense. Looking at the story mode from a technical perspective as well, it's presented in text boxes and headshots. Like, not even slightly animated headshots. It's just, there's your still image as you read the text box. And, I would have loved to have had some voice acting or something in there. On the other hand, I'm happy that there's not horrible voice acting. So, I'll take this over horrible voice acting all day long.
Absolutely. And I feel like at the time, playing other games from Japan, if it didn't have if it didn't have a big budget, a lot of times this is what we got from Japan, just to try and appease the mass amount of people, not just within Japan, but outside of it as well. Because, voice acting did exist in the N64 PS1 era. Just think of Star Fox. It is all voice acting. So it's not like it didn't exist back then, or the hardware couldn't take it. Like, it could. Well, a lot of things that came from Japan, I feel like, especially when it was like a anime manga franchise, this is what was made to try and make it easier to localize. Because you know how hard it is and expensive it is to truly voice act, and voice act multiple times as well.
I don't, because I've never done it.
That's true. Neither have I, but that's just from I guess a logical business standpoint. I guess this is where I'm coming from. Much easier to hire a couple of translators and just have type away at it instead of recording, 3, 4, 5 people all at the same time for different languages.
And especially in a game where you don't know exactly what lines are going to need to be used.
Mm-hmm. And especially for and at this era too of just anime, the amount of changes that are made to dialogues to make it make sense going from one country to another, not because of necessarily like, oh, there's no word for this when it's translated. No, it's just cultural differences trying to help people understand things. I know there's a whole, is it dub versus sub, and I'm in the middle. Like I think there are times where dubbed is where you should be, and there are times where subbed is where you should be. It's situational.
There is a perfect solution.
What's that?
Watch both at the same time.
Exactly. Yep.
Seriously, that's how my wife and I watch anime. It's dubbed and subbed at the same time. It is an amazing choice, and it means that we get to very, very quickly compare the language choices they have in the two different methods.
Exactly. Yep.
So overall, this game, from what you're saying, sounds like it's a step in the right direction.
Probably caught myself saying so, which I've been trying to not say so much to start off a sentence and cut myself off. And it would have been better if I had fully said it for real, because at least then it would have been a whole word
At the same time.
Exactly. Yep.
Overall, this game, from what you're saying, sounds like it's a step in the right direction, but not quite to what Gundam deserves.
Absolutely. That's a great way of putting it. I don't think it's all bad. I don't think it's a bad game at all. I was just I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
Oh, that's so much.
That's even worse.
I forgot that.
I know.
That's what I said.
Because Superman 64, I am angry at. Not disappointed, I'm angry at that game. Gundam Battle Assault, I'm disappointed.
That being said, if just in a vacuum where this is the only Gundam game that exists, would you, I know, right? Because I have to take away your answer of no, I'd give them a different game. But would you give somebody this game as a bit of a primer course for getting into Gundam?
No, there's no way. Absolutely no way. I don't think I could show someone this game and then they would be interested in the franchise. There's no way.
See, what's really kind of funny about that, and you're probably going to hear me say that in like what we recorded, but the person who is on the episode for Gundam Battle Assault 2, which, fun fact, we recorded way before recording this one with Carrington, he said, I was asking him which Gundam series I should start to watch with my wife, and he honestly said, hey, aren't you recording Battle Assaults? Just tell me which robot you think is cool, and I'll let you know what series it's from and stuff.
On this game, and then they would be interested in the franchise. There's no way.
See, I did have a friend who told me that he would give somebody this game if they had already had some Gundam exposure. Like, he wouldn't give them this first off. Not at all. But if they had a little bit of exposure to it, then he would give them this and then say, hey, which Gundam suit did you like the best? We're going to get you into that series.
That's a good way of doing it. I could see that for sure. Not a bad idea at all. Because even because going from series to series, the way the Gundams look, that art changes based on for many different reasons. Just
my cables back there.
You know, that's a good way of putting it for sure. I didn't think about that, but if I'm just like giving this person like, oh, okay, I heard you love Gundam. I heard about this game, Gundam Battle Assault. Should I play it? I didn't think about that, but if I'm just like giving this person like, oh, okay.
Let's tighten that up a little bit. Don't need to go in that much. Come on. Boop, boop, boop.
Way of putting it for sure. I didn't think about that, but if I'm just like giving this person like, oh, okay, I heard you love Gundam. I heard about this game, Gundam Battle Assault. Should I play it? I don't. Yeah, I don't know about that.
Play it as a fighting game because they're fun.
Yeah.
That's about it. If you knew somebody who...
Yeah, that's a little too much of a linger there. And get rid of that from me. And drag this back out a little bit so I'm not starting in the middle of a word. Don't you have to, don't you have to, don't you have to let it linger. One good thing about horrible singing is that I will probably not get hit for copyright strikes.
Yeah.
That's about it. If you knew somebody who was interested in getting into Gundam, what other comic or manga series would you give them to tell them, hey, it's kind of like this?
I'm kind of experimenting with how that question is going. I used to always ask them at the end, what did it get right and what did it get wrong? And those are definitely good points to hit. But especially when I was really starting to stop using those as ending questions, it seemed like a lot of people were saying, like I said earlier, this thing, like I said earlier, that thing. And so I think Here's a Similar Franchise is going to work a lot better as an ending question.
Well, hey, it's kind of like this.
Ooh, now that's a good question. And you're talking specifically leaving it in Japan, right? Because I can't say something like, "Oh, it's Power Rangers on steroids and even better than that."
I mean, you could, but I think you could get a lot closer.
I would say probably maybe something like Gurren Lagann. Yeah, Gurren Lagann. Yeah.
I don't know
still, it's another giant mech anime. Yeah.
I don't know still,
it's another giant mech anime. It deals with war and things, and without like revealing too much, it's got a bunch of things going on with it. It's got a bunch of. I feel like people are gonna get mad at you for saying that though, because it's just like, oh, it's just one giant robot aiming for another. But I mean, it still has a bunch of like heavy themes in there. It's emotional. It's got a lot going on with it.
Is
So
it
you guys
less?
know Gurren Lagann? Mhm.
Is it less sad than Grave of the Fireflies?
Go on with it.
Is
So
it
you guys
less?
know Gurren Lagann? Mhm.
Is it less sad than Grave of the Fireflies?
It is less sad, but it is still very sad.
Less sad than Grave of the Fireflies.
Mhm.
Is it less sad than Grave of the Fireflies?
It is less sad, but it is still very sad.
Okay, good, because as much as I love Grave of the Fireflies, I hope I never watch it again.
I'm right there with you, honestly. So, Gurren Lagann still made me cry, but it did not turn me into a fetal position. Life sucks because this sucks. It's just emotional because of certain things that happen, but it's a great series still.
And if anybody wants to yell at Carrington for that choice, first off, don't, because that's mean. But also, I didn't give him any warning, so he had no time to prepare for this question.
100%, and I had to start thinking of different.
Although, totally calling him out, if he had been listening to the past few episodes, he would have been ready for that question. Just saying.
So, I didn't give him any warning, so he had no time to prepare for this question.
100%, and I had to start thinking of different, because I had a bunch of different big mech anime sort of going through my head. I'm like, that doesn't work, and I was like, and then I got to Gurren Lagann. I'm like, yeah, that works.
And then from the game side of things, what game would you give them to convince them to go check out Gundam?
I would give them Transformers Beast Wars on N64 and be like, do you want a better version of this? Play Gundam.
Nice. I didn't tell him that one either, but it must be a much easier answer.
Yes.
I also asked that question horribly, so big shout out to Carrington for answering the question that I meant to ask instead of the one that I actually asked.
Answer.
Yes, because Transformers Beast Wars is awful. It truly is awful.
For proof, you can go listen to the episode of Transformers Beast Wars, which I will have linked in the show notes.
Boom. See?
Ooh, I'm glad that I said that to me here, because I forgot that I was going to make that linked in the show notes. So, I should remember to do that.
Boom. See? I'm glad you did that game already, because I wasn't sure if you did or not, because that game's awful.
I decided Transformers counts because I have a bunch of friends who like Transformers, and it was an excuse to get them on the show.
There you go. Don't get me wrong, I love Transformers. I don't want to take that away from anybody, and Beast Wars, I love that show. But that game is awful.
Yep. Carrington, it has been great having you on the show again. If people want to hear more from you, where else can they find you around the internet?
So if you want to follow me specifically on the interwebs, just look me up as Desert Fury 90 on the good old any social media platform, honestly, because I'm elsewhere other than just now X, formerly known as Twitter. such as Blue Sky, and there's another one I can't remember. But most social media platforms, that's where you can find me. And if you want to follow my show, which we are doing research again, and hopefully we can start back up soon shortly, K&K's Indie Gaming Podcast, formerly our Indie Gaming Corner Podcast, formerly known as Real Dudes Podcast, because it's just kind of myself now since the K&K. Hopefully we can start back up soon shortly. K&K's Indie Gaming Podcast, formerly our Indie Gaming Corner Podcast, formerly known as Real Dudes Podcast, because it's just kind of myself now since the K&K.
No, I knew that. I'm not that bad today.
No, you're good. You're good.
I'm so excited for that to come back too, because just the love you two have for indie games and the depth you go into looking at those, it has made me wish that I had newer consoles so that I could get some of those. Like, that's the thing. I listen to y'all's show without being able to play the games most of the time, because that's how much fun the show is.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. I think what sparked me and Kyle to go as a duo as opposed to a rotating cast, which if you guys go back through the history of the show, it's definitely a rotating cast. A lot of people noticed, I guess, the love and care Kyle and I showed, and the chemistry that the two of us had, and we still have it to this day. We still have that love and fire for indie games, even if we haven't produced an episode in a month or two. Still, if you guys need a suggestion for a great indie game, it's kind of a cheap shot, but I really, really would highly suggest it. And why is this a cheap shot? Because it's just won Indie Game of the Year at the Game Awards, and that is Sea of Stars. Definitely check it out. It is fantastic. If you like games that are basically big homages to old 90s, definitely check it out. It is fantastic. If you like...
Let's tighten this up. Whoa, I don't want to move it. Let's tighten this all up a little bit. And then here, that's a better spot. I know this part is probably very exciting to watch. So that shows you how close we are to the end of the actual episode. I'm not going to record the outro stuff tonight because I just don't feel like it. And it's not coming out till Monday anyway. And if I'm this close, I'm going to get rid of this overlap, just in case there's any weirdness with the audio and it decides to make weird noises, because that happened to me once. And it was probably a thing that was only on one track, but I don't want them to interfere with each other.
This is fantastic. If you like games that are basically big homages to old 90s 2D sprite Japanese RPGs, that's exactly what that is. It is wonderful.
Yes, because that is my jam right there.
There you go. There goes a suggestion right there. And if you're looking for something a bit more unique and moody, I would check out Dredge, because they made a... And if you're looking for something a bit more unique and moody...
Tighten this up.
And if you're looking for something a bit more unique and moody, I would check out Dredge, because they made a horror game out of a fishing game. Yes, I said it, and how does that work? You have to play it to find out.
I have no idea how it works. I haven't tried it out yet.
You have to play it to find out.
That sounds weird as heck, and I'm gonna go check it out.
It is amazing. Do you love Lovecraftian things?
I do.
Then you have to check out Dredge. You don't have an excuse, my friend. I'm sorry, those are the rules. I don't make them.
Okay then. I'm gonna go check it out because I don't want to break the rules.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, now we'll do the rest of our stuff.
I have no idea what happened to my voice there, but that's getting cut out anyway. Because that's the end of the episode. Alright, so 2 little bonus things for everybody who's still here. Number 1, you might have noticed that there is a track 4 down here. There is some special stupid audio that I made. Stupid because I spent way too long working on it. The other thing is we're going to listen to what these outtakes are. One of them you kind of heard already. The other one, I don't remember what it is. So let's find out.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Don't be greedy.
I won't.
I think I'm going to take that one out.
Yeah, it really disappointed in that. It was just like, and I just was excited.
Okay, so one of the reasons why people say to get a non-destructive audio editor is because I can take this bit that I cut and I can drag it back out so that it's essentially a copy of what I have in the episode proper.
Yeah, it really disappointed in that. It was just like, and I just was excited. It was just disappointing because it's Gundam is one of, I'm not going to say it is the.
How much do I need for context here?
In that, it was just like, and I just was excited. It was just disappointing because it's Gundam is one of, I'm not going to say it is the, because I don't even think it's the best anime out there, but it is definitely up there as one of the best anime, or just one of the.
No context. We're just going to go with this. And with that, So with that, I'm going to go ahead and end things up here. I'm going to finish it up tomorrow. Thank you to everybody who watched today, tonight, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, we'll have to do it again sometime.